We'll now open the licensing board's meeting. First order of business is the approval of the February 20th and March 20th minutes. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve?
No.
I approve.
Great, thanks. First item on the agenda is we're going to go a little bit out of order here. We're going to move up Squire Road Station, 174 Squire Road. Please state your name for the record, please.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the Commission. My name is Attorney Dan Buckley from D'Ambrosio Brown, 14 Proctor Avenue. The application in front of the Commission is for a beer wine license, entertainment license, and common victualler license for Squire Road Station, Inc., which is owned and operated by Mr. Ahmed Selman. Mr. Selman would be the proposed manager of license. If the Commission would allow, I'd like to kind of present some of the facts of this application, both about Mr. Selman and about the business. Mr. Selman, who's in the Commission today, is a longtime resident of Revere, over 20 years, and has owned and operated a business, particularly on Squire Road, for nearly 10 years. Particularly, it's a gas service station with a mini-mart. Personally, Mr. Selman has 2 master's degrees from Northeastern University and 1 in project management and engineering. Other than his academics and being a lifelong resident, he has been a businessman in the community for a number of years. As part of his business, he wants to add some value to the business and to his customers in the community and add that beer and wine element. Particularly in the past year, Mr. Selman has invested over $500,000 in the business in updating and renovating the premises. I think particularly the facility, which the Commission has a plan of. It's a 2,400 square foot building. 600 square feet on the second floor was mainly used for an office, and then 1,800 square feet for the retail. It's outlined in the plan, particularly if this application was approved, where that beer and wine would be sold. I know the Commission is always concerned about putting beer and wine in any type of retail store, particularly because of minors. And that was considered when deciding where to put this beer and wine. If you notice on the plan, that would be put in the back of the store, where it is away from any types of chips, soda, and water, where generally minors would go in to purchase items. And additionally, if you notice where they would be placed, it would be placed in direct eyesight of the cash register where the person will be purchasing. So at all times, this would be monitored. Secondly, I would like to address the neighborhood where the proposed beer and wine license would be. 174 Squire Road. This is a commercial area. This is an area where beer and wine licenses should be given. Not only is it a commercial area where a lot of business goes on, but it's under the open view and scrutiny of the Revere Commission as well as the ABCC. This is not back in the corner of a residential area, but an area where a lot of businesses goes. In addition, I'd like to address a couple other matters regarding the public good of putting a beer wine license into this area, particularly for consumers. Now, there is another beer wine license in the neighborhood. And I understand that the Commission has multiple licenses available, which should be given out to the community. And giving another beer wine license in the area creates competition. It creates competitions amongst businesses, which creates better deals for the consumers. If a business wants to stay competitive, they do a couple things. They either provide a better product, a better service, or a better price. Ultimately, to stay competitive in the business, they do 1, 2, or 3 of all those things, which is the benefit to the consumer. This is an area where the beer wine license should be given because it's a particularly business-oriented area. Now, my understanding, there is no opposition to the entertainment license, and there's no opposition to the common victualler license. There appears to be some opposition from the neighboring business that currently has an application, that currently has a beer, wine, or full alcohol license. I'd like to address that before we open up the hearing to both proposals and opposition. It's my understanding that this objection is purely economic, that it might be unfair or that would hurt another business. Economics is not a legitimate reason to deny, because this is a business area, and again, I go back to the competitive nature of business in the United States, for that matter, but particularly Revere. This opposition is coming from a business owner that owns multiple stores with multiple licenses, not a resident of Revere, and it's my understanding that they're trying to sell this business. So it's not unfair to them, but potentially trying to sell this, how it would affect them. I asked the commission to consider Mr. Selman as a resident, a longtime resident of the community, a longtime business owner in the community, and particularly some of his neighbors that will speak in favor of his application.
Thank you. Any questions from the board?
Not right now. I think I listened to
Okay.
him.
Okay. Are there any other proponents who want to speak on behalf of this matter? Please step up. Please state your name and address for the record, please.
My name's Samuel Hagopian. I live on 2078 Conan Street. I just lost my mom, and I take care of my dad there. I've been there, resident there since 1970. And I know both the owners, but what I'm trying to say is a gas station should sell gasoline and not liquor. On the other hand, the owner's been there, the other owner's been there a long time, and I think that it would be wrong to have him sell liquor right next to each other, due to the fact of everybody's going to be looking for alcohol and stuff like that. But
So you're in opposition, sir?
yes,
Okay. Would you like to add anything else?
I like both of them. I know both of them, and I just think that a gas station should sell gas. Now, on the other guy's part, if he opened up a gas station, he would get probably mad because he opened up a gas station and sold gas. That's all I have to say.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Are there any other proponents who want to speak on this matter? Please state your name and address for the record, please.
My name is William J. Holt, and I live at 258 Conan Street, and I border the gas station.
Great.
Eamon has been a good neighbor through the years. He takes good care of his gas station. He cleans up the area, and we've never had a problem with him since I've been there.
Great. Thank you. Any other proponents? Please state your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Albert Khatib. My family's been living at 90 Malden Street and 88 Malden Street since 1943. I've known this gentleman for only about 5 or 6 years. He maintains his property, he does good. I even do business across the street. And I don't see no harm whatsoever in him being granted a license, because I go up and down Broadway and it looks to me like every other day a new business is opening up and they're getting a license, and I don't see no reason why the gentleman would be good for the city.
Great. Thank you. Please state your name and address for the record, please.
Hi, my name is Joe DeSantis. I live at 27 Ann Road, Revere. I've been living here my whole life. My family's been here my whole life. Mr. Selman is a wonderful man. He's very honest. I've been doing business with him for 7 years at his auto body. I'm sorry, not his auto body, his gas station. And I've been to a lot of different mechanics, and he's one of the first ones that I've run into who was honest, upfront, and very affordable. I think trying to get the license, the competition, as the attorney said, is very good. It keeps everybody on their toes, and everybody will try to do the right thing. So, thank you.
All right, thank you. Anyone else want to speak in favor? Hearing and seeing none, I'll close this side. I'll open up are there any opponents that want to speak on behalf of this matter? Please step up.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and members of the commission. My name is James Rutzer. I'm an attorney from Boston, and I represent Jewel Syed, who is the trustee of the 160 Squire Road Realty Trust, which is the entity that owns the property on which the Dairy Mart, the licensed establishments that's directly next door to this property, is located. As a preliminary matter, I would just like to suggest that this board, I think, is well equipped to address what is the statutory requirement for the determination of the license, and that would be that the public need and in the manner as to which to protect the common good, and to that end to provide, in the opinion of the licensing authority, an adequate number of places on which the public may obtain, and the manner for the kind of use indicated in the different sorts of beverages for the sale for which provision is made. Now, in this case, you have before you an application for a malt and wine license for off-premises sales, retail sales. Now, I would point out that, again, my client has a full liquor license directly next door. This board has recently approved another full license about 1,500 feet to the west of this location, and I suspect, I've just sort of done a cursory look, that I think there are any number of licensed establishments for retail sales within the 1 or certainly 2 mile radius, so that I don't think that there has been any kind of presentation of the public need for yet another establishment of this sort. One of the things that I would also then point out is that in the applicant's background, there is no indication that he has any experience with retail sales, much less retail sales of alcohol. We all know that the responsibility that comes with the license, and there has been nothing presented to this board that would suggest that this applicant, who again, the proponents described him as a mechanic and as a gas station operator, has the experience to be a proper holder of this type of retail license. Finally, I would suggest that there is a case out of the appeals court that's directly in point where in the town of Middleton, an existing gas station had proposed becoming a licensed package store facility, and in that case, the local licensing authority found 8 reasons for the denial of that application, and I would suggest to you that at least 5 of them are applicable to this instant application, and if I can, I would like to repeat them. That the community was adequately served by the existing package stores and restaurants. That the traffic congestion would be exacerbated if the store were allowed to sell alcohol. That selling alcohol and gasoline in the same location would cause public safety hazards. That the manager's supervision of the store was insufficient. And finally, that the proposed licensee's articles of organization did not authorize it to sell beer or wine. Let me deal with the simple one first, and that is the articles of organization of the proposed licensee. And in this case, the proposed licensee is a Massachusetts corporation called Squire Road Service Station, Inc. And if you would just bear with me, I'm just trying to pull out the articles. The articles of organization say that the purpose of the corporation is to conduct all aspects regarding the sale, use, storage, development of petroleum-based products, including gas, oil, and other fuel products, and in association with such sales, usage, storage, and development, additionally the service of all equipment which uses such products, including cars, trucks, and other petroleum-powered machines, etc., and all other related businesses to buy, sell, lease, license, and deal in and otherwise acquire and dispose of machinery, appliances, computers, equipment, components, instruments, stock, software, and other goods, wares and merchandise of every kind and description used or capable of being used in the above business, to apply for, purchase, lease, license, or otherwise acquire, and to own, hold, use, lease, or otherwise dispose of trademarks, patents, formulas, software, and secret processes of all kinds, to purchase, lease, mortgage, and otherwise acquire real estate necessary to the operation of the business, to buy, lease, build, erect, equip, operate, maintain, and sell every other thing necessary to the operations of the businesses. And here is the only way they can slip in is to do generally all and every other thing necessary and incident to the enjoyment of the powers and privileges hereby granted, and generally to engage in the business and activities that are lawful for a corporation organized under Chapter 156B of the General Laws of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. Those hardly sound like a convenience store with a retail package license. The next point that I would like to bring up is, and I think there has been some shortcoming in the application for the instant license, and specifically I would address that portion of the application where it is represented that the applicant has expended $500,000 in the cost of construction, $10,000 for the price of inventory, and that the total cost of $510,000 was paid for, $10,000 with cash, and $500,000 total amount financed. And again, there was an affidavit. This application, I would point out, was also signed under the pains and penalties of perjury, with the understanding that any false statement or misrepresentation shall constitute cause for disapproval of the application or sanctions, including revocation of any license for which this application is submitted. That's the line right above his signature. He also submitted an affidavit wherein he recited that the $500,000 represented a loan by a real estate trust, of which his wife is the trustee, fairly common. You have a business on the land and you have a trust that owns the land. Well, the landowner, in this case, the trust borrowed, he represented under oath that the trust borrowed $500,000 from Salem 5 Cent Savings Bank. In addition, the affidavit says also received financing over the years from Patel Corporation, which again, there's no explanation as to what that debt is. And then finally, the applicant received $335,000 in construction loan from his brother. Well, I would suggest to you, Mr. Chairman and members of the Commission, that the public records of the debt structure of the application suggest something quite different than $500,000 in debt. According to my review of the public records, that $500,000 Salem 5 Cent Savings Bank mortgage that he recited not only in the application but in his affidavit is in fact an $833,000 loan and mortgage. That's a public document. It's recorded in the Suffolk County Registry of Deeds, and anybody can find it. So it's not $500,000 in debt, it's $833,000. But in addition, it's another $365,000 that sits behind it. In 2009, the applicant borrowed from Saugus Bank $365,000 secured by a mortgage on the property at 174 Squire Road. When he did the $833,000 with Salem in 2012, the 2009 loan was subordinated, and that subordination was likewise recorded in the Registry of Deeds. Finally, it appears from the Office of the Office of the Secretary of the Commonwealth, when reviewing some UCC filings, that this applicant, at a minimum, has at least guaranteed another loan to the Small Business Administration in the amount of $263,000. So, unlike what he's telling you, that he has $500,000 in debt plus a $35,000 loan to his brother, the public records suggest right now there is $1,461,000 in debt that this applicant is responsible for. His integrity alone in the application process is something that the board can consider in denying the application. I would suggest to you that, again, the area is adequately served. It is dangerous to sell alcohol and gasoline at the same facility. That traffic congestion would be exacerbated, and again, Attorney Donahue is here to address some of the site plan issues and the traffic issues. The manager's supervision of this store was insufficient, and lastly, the proposed licensee's articles of organization did not authorize it to sell beer or wine. And with that, I will conclude my remarks, but I think that you're going to hear from Attorney Donahue having to do with the site plan, the parking, and the traffic issues. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the board.
Are there any questions for the council?
Not
At
yet,
this
I would
point?
like to hear,
We'll
Oh,
hear
if you have
from some
questions.
other opponents, and we'll maybe have you come back up. Are there any other opponents that want to speak on this matter?
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman. My name is Sean Donahue. I'm an attorney. I represent 160 Squire Road Realty Trust. I'm here to voice our opposition in connection with this application, and I'll explain why. In 2011, November of 2011, the City Council, after hearing, issued a special permit in connection with Mr. Sullivan's request to open a convenience store. In that special permit, the conditions, there were a number of conditions that were imposed, 13 to be exact. In number 6 of the City Council's written decision granting the special permit, it states, "The parking lot shall be striped with pavement markings to provide for a minimum of 12 parking spaces, including 1 HP van accessible space." And I have a copy of the special permit decision. I'll give that to you if you'd like to have that marked as an exhibit. What I'm here, I understand that Mr. Sullivan is a longtime resident of the town, of the city of Revere, and he's been a longtime businessman. But I just want to point out, in all due respect, a blatant disregard for condition number 6, in that the city council, in issuing the special permit, ordered at least a minimum of 12 off-street parking spaces at that site. The plans that were submitted to the city in connection with the construction in the opening of the convenience store, I have them here, which basically gives you a view of the site. Here's a site plan that was approved by the city in connection with the granting of the special permit. And as you can see, there are 12 spaces delineated on this site. And I can point them out for you. If it helps, Mr. Chairman. As you can see on the back wall closest to you here, you have, well, starting here, on this side of the building, here's the front of the structure, the front of the convenience store here. You have a fire lane which is designated directly in front of the convenience store. Looking at the store from the front, to the left is a space mark number 1. That's the space designated, I assume, for the van accessible handicap placard. Looking at the back row here, closest to you, Mr. Chairman, you'll note, looking from your left to right, there's an X in the corner, which I would assume is an area where parking is prohibited. There's no designation whatsoever in connection with that space. Reason being is, if you look to the top of that square or rectangle is a spot designated number 10, and above that, a spot designated number 11. Those are the parking spaces, I assume, 10 and 11. Looking to the, if you look at the X in the corner of that, where I pointed out before, the rectangle that's marked X, you'll have spots 2, 3, 4, and so on, up to spot number 9. So the plan shows 12 parking spaces. And consistent with the order of the City Council for 12 off-street parking spaces. Now, looking at, I have some photographs here. Here's a photograph where that X was located. If you notice, looking into the lot, there's a car parked there, as you can see. If you wish, I can slip through it. All right. And here's a view of that same spot, but from on the site itself, looking into the corner. You can see there in that corner there are 2 cars stacked parked, which I believe is prohibited here in the city ordinances.
Councilor, would you say that it's prohibited, or would you say that it's X'd out because theoretically if a customer came in and somebody parked in 2 and 10, they wouldn't be able to get out?
Well, correct. And therein, it's stacked parking.
Understood. I wouldn't say it was an illegal parking space. I would just say that it was an area that you could theoretically, if you were an employee, say, and you wanted to park your car there, you could, because you don't have to worry about getting in or out.
Well, I'm just looking at what the plan says. It's
Okay.
not designated
Just-
as a parking
I
space
just want to
there.
make that clarification.
Okay, and as I interpret it, it's not designated as a parking space. But I just want to point out in this photograph here, in the space that's designated as number 11, you'll note there's a machine that's situated there. That's a tire pressure system, and also there's a vacuum in connection with that as well. So that spot itself is no longer a designated parking space, but instead more of a utility use to service your vehicle in violation of the city ordinance, I'm sorry, in violation of the order of the city council. And I also have same similar picture, just hand that to you if you want to pass it around. And again, I just want to show you the parking spaces, the off-street parking spaces on the back fence, which would include that area that's been marked out on the map. There's a white car, the taxi cab that's parked there. And if you're looking across, this sort of gives you some of the panoramic view of that area from left to right. And here's another. You'll note too, on one of the spots on the back fence is designated for HP as well. So there, thus you have 2 HP spots, which I guess in having 2 HP spots, you're eliminating one of the spots that 12 parking spaces. Now you have one less spot for a potential customer to park in, which is going to, I assume, at a busy traffic time, cause cars to park along that back row, which in effect narrows the aisle between the gas pumps and in that back aisle along the fence. And here lastly is a picture of the spot that's been marked as number 1 on the map. That's the, I assume, the HP van accessible spot. By my calculations, there's less than 12 spots designated. There was a map that was, I'm sorry, yes, there was a site plan that was approved by the city, consistent with the recommendations, not recommendations, but the conditions of the issuance of the special permit. And I suggest to you, Mr. Chairman and members of this board, that that is a blatant disregard of the authority of the city council in flaunting that city council's authority. And as this board well knows, the rules and regulations in connection with liquor licensing are something that need to be complied with completely. And to have a property owner blatantly disregard conditions, orders, is something for this board to consider. And I appreciate your time. If you like, I could leave this with you as well.
Sure, just for the time being, that'd be great. Thank you. Oh, yeah, thanks. What's that? Are there any other opponents that want to speak on behalf of this matter?
Yes, good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the Commission. Richard Vigliotti, 385 Broadway. I represent the licensee, who is literally the next-door neighbor of the applicant. The licensee had his packaged good license since 2006 and does business on Squire Road as a Dairy Mart. There have been no violations by this licensee since it's held the license. The argument has been presented that perhaps competition and fair pricing is an issue before this commission. I submit to you that it is not. The classic criteria for the issuance of a license is public need. The only other criteria is fitness of the applicant. With respect to public need and common good, it's interesting to note that in the Commission's list of packaged good stores licensed in the community, with respect to Squire Road, there are, within less than a mile, 3 package stores. There's Northgate Partners, doing business as Joe's Market, Washington Liquors, doing business as Easy Liquors on Washington Ave, which is literally an extension of Squire Road at that point, and the king of all package stores in the city, Blanchard's. If you add the applicant, you're now up to 5 package stores in approximately a 1-mile stretch heading south toward East Boston. Again, if the issue was competition and fair pricing, all purchases would be heading to New Hampshire for the best prices around. What we have here is a situation where within 50 feet of an existing package store, you have an applicant applying for a package store license, albeit in a different venue, a gas station. The proximity would certainly seem to argue against public need, certainly against common good, having 2 package store licenses that close to each other. Additionally, when I reviewed the applicant's package that was submitted, I did not see a return from the collector's office. I'm not sure that taxes are current with this particular applicant, but a review of the tax collector's records regarding this applicant, there are on file 3 tax takings. The first one in 2008 for a little over $7,000. The second one in 2010 for over $19,000. And the third one in 2011 for over $18,000. Now, even though these are tax takings, the taxes were in fact paid. But I submit to the Commission that you have to take this into evidence also regarding the fitness of the applicant, although the thrust of my argument is on public need. Again, clearly, 2 package stores within 50 feet of each other does not do anything for the common good. And I ask that you deny the application. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other opponents that want to speak on this matter?
Hello, my name is Katie Sugarman. I'm the Assistant Director of the Revere Cares Coalition at 300 Ocean Avenue here in Revere. I'm here today on behalf of the Alcohol, Tobacco, and Other Drug Task Force at Revere Cares, which is committed to preventing substance abuse in our community. First, I do want to just acknowledge the coalition support of local businesses and the need for small businesses to continue to diversify their services and products in order to remain viable. We do believe that the health of local businesses and the local economy directly contributes to health in our community of our residents. With that said, Revere Cares remains consistent in its message that the expansion of alcohol licenses in Revere is detrimental to the health and well-being of the community. I'm here to respectfully ask Mr. Selman to reconsider selling alcohol as a way to boost his establishment's revenues and for this board to reconsider this application. Research indicates that the easier it is to access alcohol in a community, the greater the rates of alcohol abuse and addiction. One-stop shopping for gas and for alcohol certainly increases the accessibility of alcohol in Revere. Furthermore, national research in underage drinking prevention indicates that there are higher rates of underage alcohol sales at gas stations and convenience stores. This is of particular concern since a 2011 survey of high school students right here in Revere indicated that there has been an increase in recent years in the percentage of youth reporting that they have purchased alcohol in a store. Additionally, expanding alcohol licenses to commercial locations that youth and families already frequent, such as gas stations and convenience stores, puts youth at risk of being exposed further to alcohol advertising. While exposure to alcohol advertising one time does not necessarily impact drinking behaviors, repeated exposure does. According to the Center on Alcohol Marketing in Youth, the more alcohol advertising that youth are exposed to, the higher the likelihood that they will drink alcohol and drink to excess. Revere Cares has raised concerns at past licensing commission hearings about alcohol outlet density, particularly so close to residential areas. And as you're well aware, there are neighborhoods behind Squire Road, and there have obviously already been references today to the number of license holders already within a 1 mile proximity of this particular application. When the existing license holder in the area, Dairy Mart, applied to expand its license last year to include liquor, the coalition took a position against that expansion for the reasons I've already outlined here today. So we really do want to just remain consistent with the message that we sent last year, and also to make it clear that this isn't about targeting any one business. We want to make sure that we are remaining consistent with our message. We do recognize that there is a precedent for this type of license in the community. We also understand that this board has the challenging task of distributing the number of licenses allotted to this municipality based on population. So we do understand that this license may be granted. If that were to happen, we would ask this board to consider requiring the applicant to ensure that there are at least 2 individuals on staff during alcohol sales hours. Research shows that the rates of underage drinking sales decrease when there is more than 1 staff person present. We would also ask that alcohol marketing displays be limited, particularly in areas that youth may be more prone to viewing them. So, for instance, on the exterior of the building or in windows, if youth are sitting in their cars waiting for their parents to come back from the convenience store, we would rather they not be viewing alcohol advertising while they're sitting there. We would also ask that sales hours would be consistent with other license holders in the area. I'm not entirely sure how this application's hours compare to other current license holders, but we certainly would not want to see more hours of sales happening at this establishment beyond what already exists. And this couldn't be required, but we would certainly encourage and invite Mr. Selman to collaborate with Revere Cares on underage drinking prevention initiatives. So in closing, I do just want to thank Mr. Selman and this board for considering our concerns and the impact of allowing another gas station in the community to sell alcohol. Thank you. Well, if you're referring to the survey that was done here in Revere, that's the Youth Risk Behavior Survey, and I would be happy to help put you in contact with the schools have that information. The superintendent's office has that information, but I'd be happy to be a conduit in that process if that's also helpful. And the Center on Alcohol Marketing in Youth has a website, very easy to find. I think it's camycami.org, and they have a lot of research there.
I'd like to just make one comment. I agree with everything you've said, and there are a lot of liquor licenses in Revere. I think maybe you should go to the state delegation, which I have tried to do before, and cut down the number of licenses that are available in each city. I personally think we have our share, but if they give them to us, we do have to give them. We can't just say we're not giving out the licenses. Someone applies for it, we do have to issue it. We try to find the best place. Children aren't around, and we do look at every applicant as closely as possible. The bottom line is we have to stop them from coming into our city. They just keep giving them to us, and we have to give them out. And you're right. I think throughout the city, if you go down Broadway, you will see one after another. You go on Beachmont, there's one on each corner. Unfortunately, there's nothing we can do about it. We have to give them out, and I think this board is just going to look at the best situation for our city. But I think we're at the point now in the city that we are all next door. You can go, 2 blocks and there's another liquor license. And it's unfortunate, but we do have to issue them. I still have a lot more I want to hear if this is the place where I would like to see it go. But if you can, get in touch with the state delegation, Representative Reinstein, Representative DeLeo, and see if we can't do something about the city having a say of how many licenses we want in our city. I think that, they're not taking into consideration, yes, the population, it goes by population, but when you put up condo buildings, that shouldn't really be considered. I think homes in the area should be considered rather than the number of people where we are dealing with condos now. So,
Absolutely.
I would love to see you head to Boston, see if you can help this board out.
We actually are exploring what advocacy options are out there for that issue, because we do recognize that this board kind of has its hands tied in some
Absolutely.
respects. So I certainly appreciate your point. So
Yes.
thank you.
Thank you, and let me know if there's any progress. I would appreciate it.
I will. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other opponents that want to speak on this issue? Please.
Oh. My name is Kenneth DeFeo, and I live at 92 Newman Street in Revere. And yeah, really short. I just don't believe that gas stations should sell beer and wine. I mean, it's you can't drink and drive. It's a stiff penalty. And you get in there, you get $10 worth of gas, a six-pack, you pull out, and they're going to pop them open. It's just, that's the way it is, especially when the warm weather comes around and stuff. And that's mainly my only concern. That's it. Thank you.
Very much. Please state your name for the record, please.
My name is Omar Hilal. I'm a resident of 154 Larkin Street. I'm also the owner of Boston Brothers Limousine, and I think that having a Shell gas station that sells alcohol is a very convenient and a good idea for all of our limousine drivers. We have to make a one-stop, get gas, get what the clients ask for, and get going. And that's about it. Thank you for your time.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Are there any other opponents that want to speak on this? Seeing none, open the order of questioning by the commission.
Yes, I have a few things that I'd like to go over before we close this hearing. I'm in agreement with both sides. As most people know, I was on the board when the Mobile station did come out for the for liquor license. I don't see mixing gas and alcohol. I just, maybe it's just the way I grew up. You would never go into a gas station and buy alcohol. I was one that did not vote for that license to go into the gas station at the time. And lo and behold, Boston sent it back and said, I didn't have good enough reason to deny that license. At that point, it was passed. I still did not vote for the license. Unfortunately, again, as I said, the licenses are there. We do have to give them out. I don't want to see them near schools. I do not want to see them near churches and in highly residential areas. The city has really become oversaturated, I think, with liquor licenses. And speaking about New Hampshire, sure, you can drive to New Hampshire. Every single gas station has it, and unfortunately, this is the first one we ever gave out, and I knew this would happen when we did vote on that license. This area, I don't see any children walking there. It's not near any schools. They do have to be given out, so I'm just trying to think of the best spot. Would I say a gas station? No, absolutely not. But I don't see any other place in the city that someone else is going to come up for this license. It's not going to sit here. So, and speaking about the parking, I know the attorney was here for the Dairy Mart, and I guess that little complex there. I see 3 businesses there. I drive Squire Road, and I have to tell you, that's one of the busiest corners to get past. They are backing in, they're coming out. They actually had to make that street between this gas station and the Dairy Mart a block in one way and then one way the other way because they had no parking. Parking is an issue no matter what the business is in the city. We have very few businesses in this city that I can say can handle their business. that is the city. These businesses have been here for a long time. I personally have seen Squire Road, and again, I was not in favor of a lot of these changes. It's probably the best I've ever seen Squire Road in at least the last 30, 40 years, and I think people would have to agree with it. This gas station that is a Shell gas station was a little bit of an eyesore. I think it has brightened up the area. I think that new Mobile station has brightened up the area. There were a lot of other businesses there that I think could use a little sprucing up. So it's a tough vote. I just, I want to hear from my colleagues, how my colleagues feel, but please keep in mind, this board is for the better of the city. We have to give out these licenses. I know the beach is looking for licenses. Now we have condos down there. They don't want licenses near them. They don't want to go back to the old bars on Revere Beach. I don't know how many people are getting back to enjoying Revere Beach. It's a beautiful place now. We've gotten rid of all that riffraff. But I can tell you, these liquor licenses are here, and there are people waiting. Is this what we want to do, put more bars back on the beach? Do we want to put it in a commercial area? Where, again, I don't think many people walk on Squire Road, so you don't have that visibility of this alcohol all the time, and I totally agree with the signage. And, there are other alcohol licenses on Squire Road that all I see at night are fluorescent liquor, which when they got their liquor license, full liquor license, the agreement was they wouldn't do this. There is nothing in the window but fluorescent lights as I go by. The other licenses that we have given out, they have respected our wishes and kept the signage to a minimum. There are abusers on Squire Road. And to complain about another place that I think that we can obviously take the license back if they don't go by what we would request. I certainly agree with the organization for signage and promoting alcohol. I don't want to see that either. I live in the city. I don't want to drive by these fluorescent lights, come by beer, or even the trucks they park there, got junk, come here. We're trying to better the city, Revere. So, that's all I want to say. My voting on this tonight is very hard. I see both sides, and obviously I was strong against the first liquor license in our city at a gas station. Unfortunately, it did go through, and it wasn't because of our commission. It was sent back to us, and it did go through. So, we have to look at that. Because this board says no, they have a right to appeal. It may still go through. So that's all I wanted to say, and I just hope whatever the vote is tonight is for the better of the city. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Commissioner LaCroix.
How you doing, everybody? Well, I heard both sides. Very interesting, compelling, thoughts, or suggestions, or things that were brought up. And when I came in here, it was there's a liquor store and a gas station down the road. What should stop another gas station have liquor? Then you brought up some good points about the public good. That brought something to my attention. Is the place adequately supervised? That was brought up. Didn't really think that through until that was brought up. The experience issue, the debt issue. To me, not a huge issue. And take experience, for example. I think everybody in here has probably done something different in their lifetime before what they're doing now. I know I have. And you learn by doing different things. And, I did something completely different than what I'm doing at this point. So from an experience perspective, I don't know how challenging that is to sell beer and wine. I'm sure he can learn and work with other people doing the same work. So I don't think that holds much weight. In terms of parking, yes, that's definitely could be a concern, but something that's not, that can't be fixed. So, that to me, I think, if that's addressed correctly, then I don't think that's. So the thing that really, stuck to me with Revere Care's points of, we have too many liquor stores, we have too much of that going on. It's sending a wrong message. But as Linda said, licenses are thrown at us, and we have to, submit, hand them out, just the way it is. So I think, I believe in competition. I believe that the best, person usually wins when it comes to competition in terms of, pricing, customer service. People will come back, whether it's buying liquor or buying food. So I think that's a big part of it. So I don't think we can, use, being too many or being side by side as a kind of a point to kind of not issue the license. So, again, I believe in competition. I think, as I'm, reviewing all the, items that were brought to my attention, I am siding on the side of granting the license. So that's kind of where I stand. But again, we'll probably have to, hear from Joe and table it.
I have a couple of questions with respect to the establishment. In terms of training, what do you anticipate doing for training and for the employees? And how many employees do you anticipate having on the establishment at any one time?
Good afternoon. Attorney Jerry D'Ambrosio for the petitioner. Thank you, Commissioners. My client has indicated that at all times there will be 2 employees at the facility at all times, plus himself. He is not an absentee manager. He will be there at all times as well. In terms of what kind of training, we are open for that. In fact, we're more than willing to work with Revere Cares in terms of incorporating any recommendations that they may have with regard to not only signage, but also training of the people there. Again, my client is a Revere guy. This is a Revere business. His reputation means a great deal to him, and he will do what he needs to do to keep people happy in the neighborhood. That is a primary concern of his. He is not driving off to Swampscott or Marshfield or someplace like that, not worried about what the local individuals will be thinking of him. And I think a great testament to his fitness, and I think Attorney Vigliotti brought a good point. It's really about fitness and need. And with regard to his fitness, I think the best testament is his neighbors that have come up here and spoken to you about his good business savvy and his wonderful character. And I think that'll go a long way. And the fact that he lives in the city, it's only going to continue. So again, we are open. We will take all kinds of input from Revere Cares, and we will incorporate what this commission asks for as well as what they recommend.
Great, thank you. I mean, having heard all the information, I agree with both my colleagues and many people in this. I'm very sympathetic towards the neighbors, Revere Cares, but I also look at competition, and competition I always believe is good for any neighborhood or a business, and generally the citizens benefit from that. I also look at the neighborhood, and the neighborhood to me, it's a commercial neighborhood, and I'm sympathetic to the neighbors in this case because I live off a highway and deal with businesses like that. And in the past, I've had some really good ones, and I've had some really bad ones. And when you have a bad one, you really sit there and you really scrutinize on, what could be done and how people would respond when you ask them to do things. And what I hear today here is that we've got a highly educated business owner who's invested a significant amount of money, regardless of what number that is. And I also look at Squire Road, and I look at the improvements that have been made, and quite honestly, that gas station sticks out in a good way. I mean, in years past, you drive by that, and that was a pretty tired station. Times are changing. I think that people need to take responsibility for what they do. I don't think that it would be any different from somebody driving from that gas station next door to a liquor store, or, down a block or 2 blocks down to Blanchard's. So I don't really view that as something that is a huge issue for me. Having said all that, I would say I would also, when we take a vote, I would be in favor of this establishment, simply because I think just the way this man operates his establishment is we know what he's capable of doing. He's demonstrated it. You've heard it from neighbors, from customers. You risk passing on something like this one for something that you could end up with a much bigger problem. And believe me, I've been there. I've been in a neighborhood where we've had, some significant problems because of owners that don't want to take the neighborhood's concerns into consideration. So having said that, I will make a motion to pass this application.
Well, I would second the motion, but again, through Attorney D'Ambrosio, that, again, the signage. What are we doing for signage? What are his plans for signage? And we had one gas station put up the banners going across. How does he feel about that? I mean, I'm very concerned about the advertising. I know the other one that we've approved.
Again, he's more than willing.
He's agreed to no signage, very little signage, and no banners. I know they put banners up, and especially when they get a new license, they want these 5-foot banners they put up. We now sell alcohol and neon signs. I have to tell you, at night, when I go by and look at the neon signs, it's just terrible for the city that I go by, and Squire Road, that's all you see at one establishment. It's terrible, and we've asked them in a nice way. I would approve this license. I would second the motion with that stipulation.
Sure.
That the signage be no more than 10% of his convenience store license, because basically it was a convenience store that he applied for. So secondary is the beer and wine. I would like to say only 10% of the advertising would be beer and wine, and the rest is a convenience store.
Again, he's more than willing to do that. He lives in this community, and he's more than happy to accommodate the request, no more than 10%.
Okay. Well, on that, I'm going to take a chance. This will be my first time voting for alcohol in a gas station, but I'll second the motion.
Yeah, I'm sure I'm basically going to approve the motion as well.
Great. All in favor, say aye.
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 Motion is passed unanimously.
Get that word up. I was like, where I stand. I mean, it's to me, it was.
She never checked to see if the old taxes. She's supposed to do that.
Okay, now we'll get back to the order of business. Next up is Wonderland Ballroom. Please state your name and address for the record, please.
Good afternoon. Dan Buckley from D'Ambrosio Brown, 14 Proctor Avenue. Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the Commission. There are two matters in front of the Commission from Wonderland Ballroom, both being an application for special one-day license for an 18-plus musical event. The first of which would be for April 19th, 8 p.m. to 1 a.m., and the second would be April 27th, 8 p.m. to 1 a.m. Mr. Chairman, I've been in on behalf of Wonderland Ballroom in front of this commission for consecutive months, requesting these 18-plus applications on a case-by-case basis. While I will expand on the heightened security measures, I would suggest that the evidence of these past 18-plus events with no issues that I've heard of be the best evidence in support of the applications for approval. Be that as it may, I would like to provide the Commission with the security measures that will be provided, that have been provided in those 18-plus events, to secure that there will be no issues with minors. Particularly the security measures. At the door, there would be an ID check. If a patron is under 21, or if a patron is over 21, they get both a bracelet and a stamp. Now, this is to secure that anyone that does not have those identification measures will not be served. The reason why it's in duplicate is if someone can somehow find a bracelet and put it on, they can't replicate a stamp. Secondly, cups are provided for different sizes, whether it be alcohol or soda. So someone drinking and clear as well, so you can certainly distinguish what people are consuming. In addition, they'd be required only one drink per person per service, so to eliminate any issue of someone buying an alcoholic beverage for someone that may be underage. And then finally, at these events, there'd be 30-plus private security personnel in addition to the detail officers that are usually at these events. In the past, I know the Commission had asked me, what about the specific musical events? So I did have an opportunity to do some due diligence about those acts. For April 19th, it's a band called Francesca. And it's my understanding that this individual studied at the Berklee College of Music, is a guitarist, and has won 2 Latin Grammys. The majority of the following is 21 plus, but there is a small percentage of 18 to 21, approximating about 25% of that, which is the basis for this request. The capacity of the ballroom is 1,300, and it's my understanding from the general manager that the expected occupancy would be between 800 and 1,000, well below the capacity. And on the night of April 19th, there was no other event going on that evening. The second event, April 27th, is a band that I am not familiar with, Rakim and Kenry, which is a reggaeton, which is a hip-hop event. Again, this one is expected to be 800 to 1,000 guests, well below the capacity, and the only other event going on is their standard weekend Latin night in the smaller room. Again, the same heightened security measure we provide at both events.
In the smaller room, how many do they anticipate?
It's my understanding it's only a few hundred. It's a smaller room, and it does not have the capacity other than that.
And will there be police details on?
There are police details there at every event, but not only that, but there is security preventing people from going from one room to the other, so there wouldn't be a mixing of events. And the first night of the 19th, the 18-plus event is the only one going on in the building altogether.
Quick question, Officer Randall. I'm assuming none of these prior events had any significant issues that the Revere police had to deal with, from your knowledge?
In the past 18-plus events, I'm not aware of any specific problems that we've had with the ballroom during those events.
Okay, great. Thanks. Thanks.
There's going to be security. So once a patient leaves the establishment, there's no re-entry. They're out.
That's correct. With regards to the security, 30-plus private employees.
Any security outside the establishment parking lot?
There is both the detail police, my understanding, as well as the private security in the parking lot, both inside and outside.
So how much total security would you say, in terms of manpower, would be at the establishment? Oh, sorry. How much, in terms of manpower at this establishment on each of those nights? One when there is just the one event going on, and then the second night where there are 2 events going on. What would be the difference?
In excess of 30 private employees, excluding the bartenders, service waitresses, and then police detail.
And do those individuals have training in that area?
They are trained, and I could certainly provide at some point the security training manual that has been reviewed and prepared for these security personnel. They're trained by the managers, and they are to go through and kind of shadow other security men that have been there for a while, and not only that, they review, and then it has to be signed both by the employee as well as the manager, confirming and certifying that they understand these rules and would abide by them.
Great, thanks.
And the last event, when was the date of the last event you had?
The
Was that
second
in
one, I
March?
know on the list it says April 23rd, which I don't think
No, I
that's...
think you had one in March. I'm not sure.
Well, these...
But
Oh,
regardless.
the last event was in March, correct.
Okay.
And it's my understanding that there were no issues that came out of the 18
Everything went
plus event.
smoothly. There were no problems with the parking, and everybody left quietly.
That's my understanding.
Okay, we're taking one event at a time.
Which is why I said the best evidence for approval is the last event. So
They left. Okay. That's all. I just wanted to make sure that we're not missing anything from the last event going forward, but everything went,
the last event was in February, and which was approved by this commission, and there were no incidents.
no incidents at all. Okay, great. Thank you.
Any other questions? I may make one stipulation on the, with respect to the two events, is that if there is an issue at the first event, that you would come up before the board and address that issue before we grant you that second one.
Well, I certainly appreciate that. The first event is in a couple days, and the next one is on the 27th. I don't know if there's a hearing in that time, but I could certainly make members of the commission aware of any issues.
Well, I think
I will certainly keep an eye on the logs for the event that night, the first night, and I'll make you aware of any incidents after the first night.
Okay.
So if there is any issues that take place at that event, we would probably make arrangements to at least have you come before us and address those issues.
Certainly.
Great. Is there a motion on the table?
I'll make a motion to approve.
I second the motion to approve.
All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Your application is approved.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next order on the agenda is American Legion Post. Please state your name and address for the record, please.
Good afternoon, Commissioner. My name is William Chisholm. I live at 115 Utah Street in East Boston.
Great. And you're applying for a change of manager?
Yes.
And you will be the new manager?
I'll be the new manager, yes.
And have you had any experience managing?
Yes, I
posts
spent
like
5
this?
years as bar manager at the Italian-American War Veterans in East Boston.
Great. And have you had any formal training in terms of, running anything like that?
Well,
other than experience?
practical on-the-job experience. Plus, I worked at 1 for a lot of years, so.
Okay, great, great. I don't have any other questions.
No questions.
No questions.
Okay, great. I'll make a motion to approve the change of manager.
I'll second the motion.
All in favor?
I'm in favor of the motion.
Your application is approved.
Thank you.
Thank you. You could see it. Next item is Sabrosos.
This is mine.
No, it's only check marks on mine. Could you please state your name for the record, please?
William Rodriguez.
Lajos Zakis.
Great. And could you give us some background on what you're planning to do?
It's a takeout, Hispanic, Mediterranean, and American grill.
Great. And what are your hours? What do you anticipate doing?
9 to 1, 9 a.m.
I'm sorry?
9 in the morning to 1 p.m.
1 p.m. Great. And this is just for a common victuals license only. Is that correct?
Right.
Great. Any questions?
This is on Revere Beach Parkway?
Yes.
So it's, where exactly on the beach is the location?
It's right next to Sammy's.
Sorry?
It's on Sammy's patio.
Oh, right over there, okay, okay. And you're open 9 to 8? You said 9 a.m. to?
No, I guess apparently it was 9 a.m. to 1 a.m.
1 a.m.,
Yeah.
okay. Okay.
Some, I guess, weekends maybe until that time, and then during.
It's just a takeout, you said?
Yes, just takeout.
Okay.
So there won't be any seating at all?
Any what?
There won't be any seating at all?
No seating. No.
Okay.
Recently, I went by there. Is this the one right next to Bill Ash's? Or
No.
whereabouts is
No,
this?
it's right next to
63
Sammy's
B?
patio.
Right next to Sammy's patio?
Yeah, it's the old Ike's.
Okay, because I think when I went by there, they had 4 stools on the sidewalk eating at the counter.
That was the previous owner.
The previous owner.
Year.
Was that last year or?
No,
Last
I saw it recently. I mean, maybe.
No, that was my son last year.
Oh, well.
Ike's Seafood. That was
Right.
my son, yes.
Right, because that's state property. You can't put chairs out there and eat up at the counter. I mean, they were actually on the sidewalk eating on the counter there.
Yeah.
Who was running the business at that time? Did
My
you?
son.
Your son? You can't do that.
Yeah, so our menu is not going to allow us to do that anyway. Part of the deal is that we want to make the food viewable from the outside almost, so that people can walk up and see it, just a takeout, order what you want, and go. So there's no space for us to even have anybody up there. It's not really.
Okay, I'm just telling you ahead of time, because state will come by. You can't
Yeah, there's no problem.
put stools there. Okay.
So all your cooking is going to be done on the establishment?
Correct.
Great. I don't have any question.
No.
It was Victor's Grill, and we switched to Sabrosos.
Change your name.
Yeah.
Yes,
Right.
because we go with a Hispanic menu now. It was a different menu, and we decided to do.
And you're going to put William Rodriguez as the additional manager?
Yes.
Is that
That's
you?
correct,
Oh, okay.
And everything, just real quick, everything in good standing with the city, taxes and everything good?
Yeah.
Good.
Is there a motion on the table?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second the motion.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Your application is approved. Good luck.
Thank you.
Next item is Figaro's, RDG Martone.
Good afternoon.
Hi, could you please state your name and address for the record, please?
Okay. Oh, yeah, okay. So yes, we are applying for a common victualler and entertainment license at 425 Revere Beach Boulevard. We currently have one location in Boston, right by South Station. We've been in business for almost 11 years, and basically we serve variety gourmet sandwiches, basically Mediterranean. My sister's a chef, and why don't you come up too, Rosie? And we're really excited to take this next step and opening this second location.
Great. Where is your location in South Station?
We're on 105 Beach Street. Just hold on. 105 Beach Street. So it's right between South Station and Chinatown. It's a road that runs parallel. We've been there for quite some time. We don't have any parking. A lot of similar things that we'll have to deal with, as it looks like we'll have here. Minimal seating. The major difference will be obviously the hours of operation. In Boston, we are 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. It's basically a business crowd. So the beach hours will be obviously a lot longer and more extended. This particular location I've been looking at for a long time, living on the beach for many years. I've seen it as a Dunkin' Donuts, and when the Dunkin' Donuts was no longer, I was hoping to explore the possibility, which unfortunately I didn't get the opportunity when China Roma went in there. And then once China Roma left, I was very lucky to get in there, speak to the owner of the building, and negotiate a lease.
And what do you anticipate for seating at the establishment?
Very minimal, probably 4 or 5 tables, about 15 seats, whatever is within our rights to have totally handicap accessible, and we're going by the by the rules and regulations. So we have most of our food in Boston as well as takeout, so we anticipate doing the same type of thing. We do hope to do some dinner seating, some very, like I said, small, but dinner seating as well down the road, so she can kind of explore some goals that she has now that she's finished school as a chef recently. So.
What hours are you going to be there? If he works till 3, what hours will you be at the new business?
My name's Rosie Martone. I live on 28 Heritage Lane in Saugus, Mass. As well. I just want to basically continue of what my brother was saying. So basically, I have to explain. I am in the kitchen all the time. I love it. I plan on doing it all hours of the night. That's my favorite place to be. The location in Revere Beach is actually going to allow me to do the food that I've always wanted to do. While our sandwiches are not your typical sandwich in the sense that we explore different varieties of sandwiches from different cultures. We do banh mi's from Vietnam. We do phenomenal sandwiches from Italy with prosciutto, fresh mozzarella, that kind of deal. I actually cure my own meats as well. So the truth is what I'm really looking to do at this location in Revere is actually to create more of an atmosphere, want people to stay and enjoy the beach, and to really explore what I believe is beach food, just as an elevated level and at the same time very approachable price-wise. We plan on doing a prefix menu at night when we decide to do dinner service, and that will be a seasonal weekly menu. We're going to focus on seasonal ingredients, bring in some really great food, appetizer, main entree, dessert, and that will change week to week. And I already have a staff in place because we've been in business for 11 years, so we have a lot of people that have always worked with us. So we're really excited for the opportunity to be able to have a place like that and really add to the business that's already existing on Revere Beach as well. There's a lot of great places, but we feel like we could add to that. So.
What we're looking for.
Yeah. So I guess
I
one
just
of the.
have
I'm
one
sorry.
question before we go further. Do we have the approvals from the fire department and the Board of Health? Have you gotten approval?
Yes, we've applied for everything. We've applied for everything. When China Roma left, the place was in shambles. So we are investing a lot of money and resources into redoing the entire thing. If you've driven by there, you can see we had the whole exterior painted. So we really freshened it up a lot, and we're going to continue to do so. We've applied for all licensing that we need to. I have the paperwork that I submitted to the fire department, to the Board of Health, to Tony. Everybody that I believe we've done our homework and we've submitted everything. However, there has not been final inspection because we don't even have a kitchen yet. So we're working on that daily.
When do you anticipate opening?
We're looking at opening sometime towards the end of May, most likely in June. We're taking our time with it. We want to make sure, again, that we do everything properly. And this is the first time that we're expanding, so we want to make sure that we're in line with everything. We've spoken to Joan a couple of times, and we'll certainly consult with everyone to make sure that we're in line with everything. But everything that's going in there is brand new as well. All new equipment, all new tables, all new everything. So nothing is from the previous ownership.
And do you anticipate operating 12 months a year?
Absolutely, yes. We recognize. We do recognize that, obviously, it's seasonal to a certain extent, but we believe that during the winter months, we'll be able to really, hopefully, do some catering, do a lot of delivery, stuff like that to the condos. Again, I've lived on the beach for a long time, so I see that although there's not the traffic on the beach, there's still a lot of us there at night that would like to have some good choices for food, so we're hoping to be that.
And I just want to say, I mean, the reality of it is, the beach draws people on its own. But I am very confident that our food will also draw people. So people may not necessarily go to the beach during the winter months because they're going to the beach, but they will certainly come there to eat my food, and that's the whole point.
Well, that's, if it's good, they will come. I mean, you
So-
do have a big audience there.
So I got a quick question on that. So if it doesn't really take off, how are you planning on expansion? I mean,
Expansion meaning?
well, 5 tables and 15 seats is not a lot.
We do not intend on expanding that space. What we're going to do is, frankly, we're going to do whatever's necessary to make sure that we can be open 12 months a year. One of the things we've thought about as well is we get a lot of catering business in Boston. We do a lot of catering over there, and our location in Boston is small. There's not a lot of space, so a lot of times we're preparing caterings for in excess of 100 people sometimes on the tables that people eat on. With this new location, we're hoping to be able to use the downstairs to prepare our catering and potentially do the delivery right out of Revere. So, we're putting everything into this, and we God willing, we will not fail. So we feel very confident that we'll be able to sustain the business 12 months a year. But no, we're not looking to expand beyond the current premises. No. Sure. Yeah. One thing we've thought about with that, actually, now that you brought that up, is we want to do seatings. Like they do in the North End and some of the smaller restaurants in the North End. So we'll do like a 7 p.m., maybe a 9 p.m., something like that, depending on demand. But that's something unique that I think we really can explore, and she really does a great job.
See, I think that as far as your seating, I think the fire department will go in there, obviously, before you open. You won't be able to open. And they're going to tell you what your capacity can be.
They already have.
Oh, they have told
We
you.
based our seating based on that.
So how many are they saying that?
15 seats.
15?
Including the
Oh,
handicap
okay.
seat.
All right, but you don't have that in writing from the fire department?
Not officially yet. No, our contractor got that. I think it's actually 17, but we want to keep it, like I said, we want to stay within whatever it is. So if we can squeeze in a few more and it's okay with the fire department, then we will. But if we can have 5 tables, that'll work for us again. We want the important thing here is that we want to serve people, constantly throughout the day. We would like to, at some point, explore the possibility of having some outdoor seating, if that's possible during the summer months. I've seen it at other locations. I don't know if that's something that can be done.
I have to tell you, that's state property. We can't issue licenses on state property.
I see.
That's why you see some have seating. That's because they own maybe 10 feet onto the sidewalk. But once you hit the sidewalk, that's state.
Okay, so that's one thing that I have not asked the owner of the building about, as far as how far out they own. So if they do own a few feet beyond where, I'm sure you guys know the place, like
Yes, we know.
It has the handicapped ramp going up. So if in fact she has a couple of feet more going forward where we can physically put a small table, then we would be okay doing that?
Well, you'd come here for outdoor seating, and we would give you a
Okay,
special
so yeah, we still go,
license.
so we still go through that process,
As
but
long as you don't
as
go on
long
the
as the space
sidewalk.
is there. Okay, understood.
And really quick also, as far as the seating, and also you were curious as to, with 15 seats, how are you going to basically be able to serve so many people? Well, that prefix menu that we plan on doing at night will be a special seating. And so because we're going to basically, it's going to be intimate, and so it'll be basically whatever the chef prepares for that week, that will be the special for the entire week. In Boston right now, we have 5 specials. That's our thing. We create 5 new sandwiches every day and those are our specials. We want to eliminate that in the new location and just basically have a standardized menu for the daytime, and then evening time use that to be able to focus on our dinner specials. And while dinner is going on, we will actually have almost like a screen that will be in front to basically make it more private for people eating. There will also be a screen that comes down where people stand to order their sandwiches. So we'll be able to still do our sandwich, selling our sandwiches at night while we're actually doing our seating for dinner as well. So that's the plan. There's a lot of business that we plan on doing in that little spot, but believe me when I tell you, if you saw our location in Boston, you will be shocked to see how many people we fit into our place, and how many people come in and eat and grab sandwiches, and caterings come through. It's a busy, busy business, and we love it. It's insane. You want to kill yourself sometimes, but the reality of it is that that energy is you can't package that up, and that's what we hope to create in Revere.
Any other questions?
I'm good.
Is there a motion on the table?
I'll make a motion to approve. You're saying you're going to open in May, but before you open, you are going to have to bring us those certificates from the Board of Health and the Fire Department for the occupancy, and because we're going to have to put that on your license, what your occupancy is.
Absolutely.
And the Board of Health. And I'm very happy to hear that you're coming to the beach.
That's cool.
So I'm going to make a motion to approve.
Thank you.
A motion to approve, plus since I missed lunch, I'm starving just talking about it. So, yeah. But
usually bring stuff.
definitely approved, and
We
good
usually
luck.
bring stuff, but we're like, you know what, that just doesn't seem right to bring food.
Well, I work in that neighborhood, so
Well,
I'll be sure to check it out.
Anytime.
Great.
And in fact, I just wanted to talk to you about the health inspection thing. I want to say that my brother can testify to this. We actually we just had the Boston health inspector in there last week, and when I tell you, not one thing out of place, and that's honestly how we operate. When you deal with food, you deal with safety issues, everything. Before you even can create a good plate, it starts with a clean plate. So, and that's the whole point. So we're very, very strict with our rules and the way that we operate and the way we train our staff.
Great, thank you. All in favor, say aye.
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 Thank you
Your
very much.
application
Thank you.
approved. Good luck.
Very much.
Thank you so much. Good to see you. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, next on the agenda is, actually, we table Sire Food Market has been tabled until next month. Squire Road, we've already taken care of. Washington Liquors, doing business as Easy Liquors. Please state your name and address for the record, please.
Sure. My name is Mayvin Patel, 5 Bunting Way, Danvers, Mass. Mitesh Patel, 5 Prince Way, Sharon, Mass.
Great, and you are making an application for a stock transfer?
Correct.
And how do you envision that happening?
At the moment, I own 100%, so we're trying to transfer the 50% on his name.
Okay, and you're going to continue to operate
Yes.
as well?
Yep.
Is anything going to change in terms of how the establishment is currently operating?
No, it's the same thing.
Okay, and do you have any experience in that business?
Liquor? Yes.
You do? Okay, great. I don't have any other questions.
I mean, I'm there full-time as a manager. We also have a place in Neptune Liquor in East Boston. So we're in the business. He owns a couple of liquor licenses as well.
How much time do you guys anticipate operating in the Revere location?
I'm usually there 4 to 5 hours a day.
4 to 5 hours a day?
Yeah.
How many days a week?
How many totals in a week?
How many days a week do you?
Oh,
are you-
7 days.
Are you there 7 days?
7 days.
Okay.
Okay, off for us.
About 35 hours, and you anticipate how long you're going to be there?
Well, I'd be there. I'd be much there. when I'd be he's his gonna relieve me. reliever. So whenever he.
So if one of you isn't there, the other one would be?
Right. And at the moment, we already have current existing employees full-time. They're
Yeah.
going to be staying the same thing. So basically, we're just going to be around, doing the most,
Okay.
like as a fill-in and all this stuff.
Great, thank you. Okay, is there a motion on the table?
Motion to approve.
I'll second that motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Your application's approved.
Thank you. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Okay, what do we got here? This is been waiting for so long time.
I know it. Yeah, why don't we take that? Why don't we take that next?
This
Let's
gentleman's
take,
waiting, so this gentleman's waiting.
yeah.
I felt bad.
All right, so we've got two late applications for 2013 common victuals license for Boca Brazil Cafe and Restaurant, and one for an entertainment license. And they're up to date on taxes and, you know. No, I'm sorry, Boca Brazil Cafe? Oh, yes. Yes, okay, great. All right, I'll make a motion to approve that.
I'll second the motion.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, that's approved. Our next issue, our next item is Northgate Partners LLC, doing business as Joe's Market. Please state your name and address for the record, please.
Joseph Brizio, 3 Rose Farm Lane, Woburn, Massachusetts.
Great, thank you. Can you just give us a little bit of background on what you're planning to do with your one-day event?
We're having a private reception for all the people who put us in this position to build this new place and open it. Folks from ExxonMobil are going to be there, global, city officials. It's by invitation only. It's from 2 o'clock in the afternoon. We'll be out of there way before 7, but we put a 7 o'clock deadline on it. We hired a police detail of 2 officers and 1 cruiser for traffic and keep everything in line.
How many people do you anticipate to have at this event?
80. Right around 80.
80?
Yeah, right around there.
Okay. And then people will be coming and going?
Coming and going, yes.
Okay.
I just have one objection. I'm out of town that day. Can't make it.
We tried.
I know.
We tried.
Unfortunately, I can't make it, but I have no objections.
So that's a no?
outside of that.
Is there a motion on the table?
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second that motion. All in favor, say aye.
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 And I want to thank you for a wonderful job you're doing on Squire Road.
Really is
Squire
nice.
Road has come, I know the 3 of us drive down Squire Road all the time. We're checking everyone's business there, and it's just looking great down there.
We spent a significant amount of money there, and my son, to my son's credit, he came up with the design on the property, and you know he wanted it to stand out. I objected to all the money he spent on it, but it's coming along beautiful. And I think you know what you were talking earlier about the other businesses. A lot of businesses are spending money on Squire Road, and you know Northgate, the shopping center for a number of years was decrepit, and it's coming alive. It really is.
has.
The whole area is coming alive, and
Harley Davidson's going to go there.
Pardon me?
The bike shop, Harley Davidson going.
Yeah, I'm so excited about that. I really am. On the other side,
Yeah.
That'll be great. But we had the Revere Beautification Committee come out yesterday, and we were talking about the strip in front of our place it's nasty. And he was asking me about, you know, sponsoring to redo it. And yeah, sure, no problem. But there's no water out there. And he says, well, you can put good plants. I said, but without water, everything's just going to die.
Yeah.
You know, in the heat of the summer. And he said, well, there's really nothing we can do about that. I said, get the state to put water out there, and we'll be happy to sponsor it. You know, because if you go down further, the circle down by Sunoco,
Yeah.
it looks beautiful. It
It does.
absolutely does.
It does.
Place. And so it's coming alive. I really
It really
agree.
is. It's a pleasure to drive
Yeah.
Squire Road
It
now.
is.
Like you say, years ago,
Wow.
terrible way to enter the city, Revere.
It was, and it really looking good. It's looking good.
Great.
Well, good luck.
Good luck, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry,
All right, thank you.
but let's do it.
Thanks.
Item number 9, FMD Bagel and Coffee.
Been patient, this gentleman.
Good afternoon, guys.
Please state your name and address for the record, please.
Fabio Da Silva, 411B, Reservoir Ave.
Great, thank you. Can you tell us what your plans are?
As of right now, I plan on opening a coffee shop, which will be here at 311 Broadway. I have one existing. Can't say it's mine. It's my mother's. I manage it for her. I'm trying to take on the coffee industry on my own. Plan on serving coffee, bagels, muffins, sandwiches, wraps, paninis, soups in the seasonal, ice cream, slush if I could in the summertime. Obviously, I need a permit for that, but it'd obviously be seasonal. I would have an express line because I know I am limited to parking. Obviously, it's street parking, which I don't plan on catching a lot of car parking. That's why I'll have an express line. I have a blueprint for you guys if you guys need a bigger copy. About 4 to 5 tables, seating about 15. There is already a handicap accessibility of a bathroom already existing. Full basement. I don't plan on prepping much food. Be plasticware, paperware, no dishwasher. 3-bay sink would be in the basement if necessary. That's about it.
No.
Weekends, I would say about 7 p.m. I just want to say, give or take, I'm sorry, hours of operation would be Monday through Friday. I would say about 6 a.m. to about 7 p.m., 8 p.m., all depending the traffic. And I mean, the bus runs till about 8 p.m., I'm assuming. And I mean, you guys close here around 4 or 5 o'clock. There's residents above me, residents all around me. I mean, I don't know what my crowd's going to be. So I would say the weekends, the latest, probably about 7 o'clock, because obviously I want myself and my employees to have somewhat of a life. Correct. Now, I would like to do that with like lattes, espressos, cappuccinos. I don't know if I'm allowed to. I would have to speak to my landlord if he owns any of the property on the sidewalk. Because if so, I know he did a great job with the outside. He decorated it phenomenal. I'd like to put somewhat of tables outside. Come out, get a scone, a biscotti, cappuccino, or latte, whatever it may be outside for the nightlife. I feel like the city needs something like that. Correct, but I'd run that by the landlord and obviously see if he has space on the curb.
Can you tell me, have you been inspected by the fire department and the Board of Health
I haven't
yet?
been inspected by nothing. I have a lease pending as of right now. I haven't signed off on anything just to make sure I can get a license.
Well, we would have to do it contingent on the reports. And also, they'll tell you what your seating is. What are you looking for seating?
They already told me my capacity would be about 19, which I plan to avoid that. I'd say about 15.
Because I don't see any seating on this application.
Excuse me.
That's why I like the fire.
If I would. Buses, they can make their rain day, whatever it may be. And then right will be my tables, obviously on Pleasant Street, I believe that's how it should be. Table for each window, which I would easily sit at with 14 to about 16 people.
Well, again, to approve this on seating, I can't wait on the process for seating. How about the Board of Health? Do you have the Board of Health in there?
I haven't had any. First I want to. I have
No. So where are you at this point in terms of?
To be honest with you, I just got to sign a lease. I have my contractor in line. I have my electrician waiting on a quote, and I have my plumber waiting on a quote. To be honest with you, once I sign a lease, I'm ready to roll.
If we approve this contingent on the fire department and what, we won't be able to do seating, but when do you plan on opening?
I would like to be open by at least the end of May.
The end of May?
Correct,
So
which is about a
we
month.
will have another meeting by then. May, what's our next meeting?
Probably the 15th, right, in the middle of the month?
It is in the middle of the month.
That could work. I could have everything in line by then.
But, I mean, we can look at approving the license so that you can sign your lease with stipulations there, if my colleagues.
Fair to say, whatever has to be in line, obviously, I know I have to go to the fire department, which I'm just waiting, obviously.
Right, we can't approve seating.
Yeah, none of that's been done, so I'm
And the Board of Health has to sign off.
Yeah.
I mean,
But I don't want to hold you up on your lease. I
I'm not-
understand the
To be honest, that's where I'm at the halt as of right now.
I'm not opposed to what you're doing. As I mentioned to you earlier when we spoke, that I was concerned about the time frame and your ability to get the necessary inspectional services.
Correct.
Having said that, I would say to you that I would rely on what the fire department says in terms of seating.
Okay.
And as long as you meet all the requirements of the inspectional services,
Meaning for
I
the
would
electrical-
vote to approve the license conditional upon sign off by whatever seating the fire department agrees upon, and in any of the inspectional services. So as long as you meet that criteria, I would do it on a conditional basis. I also would say to you that if you are looking at seating outside, that would be another application that you'd have to apply before this board before you could do that, assuming that it's not city property and it's personal property.
Okay, if that's an issue, I can always scratch. I can try next year or so, but I just.
Well, I'm not saying that you can't do that. All I'm saying to you is I want to clarify that you're going to need to come before us again if you have the ability to do that.
Okay.
Okay?
And that's obviously with the approval of the health inspection, the Board of Health, the plumbing, the electrical. and all that.
Correct.
Correct.
And in terms of entertainment,
Would just be a radio and a television.
radio and television?
That's about it. I don't plan on having no live band or anything just like that. It's a coffee shop, man. People want to come in and listen to the news, the great news, and that's about it.
Okay. I would make a motion to approve it on a conditional basis that he meets all of the inspectional services requirements, and you'll agree to whatever number of seating the fire department agrees upon.
Absolutely.
I'll second that motion.
I second the motion as well.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you all.
Your application is approved conditionally.
Conditional.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. The next meeting would be the 15th of May. So I'll make a motion to set up the next meeting for Wednesday. Oh, we have two hearings? Oh, that's right, that's right. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. Before we close the meeting, there is a hearing for Luis Carlos Lopez Maya, doing business as La Fonda Pesa. Seeing that there isn't anybody in here to meet that, we'll table it until May. I don't believe so. Who's that? All right, so we'll table La Fonda Pesa until the May 15th meeting. We've got two communications, one from the Massachusetts State Lottery regarding an application for a Keno license by the Bagel Bin at 207 Shirley Avenue. We also have a communication dated 4/2/13 from the ABCC approving the transfer of all alcohol package store licenses for Northgate Partners LLC, doing business as Joe's Market, 338 Squire Road, Revere, from 350 Squire Road. Yeah. Next meeting will be Wednesday, May 15th. I'll make a motion to close today's meeting.
Motion to adjourn.
I second the motion.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.